Hi, everyone. This is Mandion Astral Oracles, still coming to you from Mexico City, and feeling more and more connected to the local energies. And thank you to Aurel for bringing Kukulkan or Quetzalcoatl so up front or center stage in my attention these days, because he's a very fascinating energy, and he's always been the part of the Mesoamerican pantheon that I've been most fascinated by. And if some of you may remember that I did a long time ago, I think almost a year ago, I think a talk on the symbolism of the dragon energy or the serpentine energy, and how it merged with the avian energy or the bird, and it's usually symbolized by a bird of prey, a falcon or a hawk or an eagle. And so these are the eagle is related to the higher centers, and of course the Kundalini energy, the serpentine energy, rises from the basis of your perineum or your first chakra, or the root energy chakra. And of course, approaching the symbolism of let's call him Kukulkan, the feathered serpent. It's of course, it merges these two layers. So it has that, as I also spoke about in that talk, actually the sort of unifying symbol of the dragon, which is the merging of the avian energy with the serpentine energy, and that's brought forward into that sort of self-contained wise beast that resides ever resting on a treasure which it won't allow anyone access to unless they pay their dues and make their sacrifices. And this is a myth. It's so perennial. You'll find it in a lot of places, like for instance in the saga of the Volsungs with Sigurd. What's he called in English? Sigurd, S-I-G-U-R-D, who slays the dragon Fafnir, and then he's blessed with the ability to understand what the birds and the animals are saying. So it's this very deeply ingrained pattern in human beings that's very hard to comprehend, but that seems to always find its expression in the serpent. And what's also very fascinating about the story of this deity in Mesoamerica is that he's undergone a lot of transformation in the different cultures, but he is sort of a universal figure. So his cult has been extremely popular, and he's sort of, at least comparative mythologists have argued this, that he sort of fills this what you would call the soteriological position, the figure that descends into the world and saves with it wisdom, and brings it out of its unconscious void and into the light of the divine. And in some of the earliest representations of Kukulkan in the Yucatan Peninsula, you find these stone reliefs of the vision serpent, and it has this sacrificial. It's depicted with the sacrificial bowl, where the blood is let upon, and then I think it's set on fire, and from that the serpent energy rises, and from the mouth of the serpent emerges the warrior, which is of course an image of the realized being that emerges from the mouth of the Kundalini energy to remain in the most elaborate of these, let us say, serpentine mythological systems that we have and we still use today. So I want to connect to Kukulkan, and I feel I'm already connected to him, but I want to channel him for you. And I want to do it on the topic of bloodletting and sacrifice. And yeah, I hope this doesn't get too Aztec for you, but I think it's a very, very interesting perspective. And I also feel, working with clients, that it seems to be an energy that's prevalent in a lot of people's visions, experiences, dreams, developments, guides. It seems like the serpentine energy is very much manifesting itself. And it also seems like it's somewhat connected to the ability to also relinquish or shed what you no longer want, and then to sort of activate this forceful emergence of the warrior or your true self into to the world. And of course, that's very much connected to sacrifice. So you will often find that these sort of ascetic or transcendental figures in religious systems, if you think of Odin in Norse mythology, you think of Mercury in Greco-Roman mythology, or Hermes, or you think of Shiva. Some of these forces, they have this quality of austerity, is perhaps the right word, this idea of imposing restrictions on your physical self, and shedding things that you no longer need in order to arrive at the transcendental space. So often it's of course also connected with the myth of resurrection, and notice that of course Christianity is in some way special in that it attaches itself to a historical figure, and in that sense also has a very Jewish or a linear perspective of history, where it moves from one point to the other. And at the same time, of course, Christ is partially connected to Easter, so the perennial resurrection of life into darkness, which happens every spring. But of course also he's the master of sacrifice, right? That's the ultimate trick, is like I shed everything, I let the world kill myself, and then hoo-ha, you had me back and even more powerful than ever. So and of course, if you want to go modern, you can say this is the idea that's also related when Obi-Wan he says to Darth Vader in A New Hope that will strike me down and I shall become more powerful than you can ever imagine. So it's this idea of the ritual bloodletting which allows you to access that deep sense of actualization into the world. And that's very much connected to these transcendental figures in different traditions. But seeing that we are in Mexico, and seeing that he's very present, and seeing that I just think this is an awesome deity to work with, I'm very much looking forward to channeling him. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks for being here. That's a long time it has been since I have spoken to someone in this physical, geographical space. I used to do it all the time, but then I went underground for a stint, as you may know. I used to be very active in these parts, but they also lost my wisdom. Those earlier visions of the serpent, those earlier visions I granted to those of my acolytes who were willing to shed their skin, let their blood, and allow for their life forms to be transformed into these divine visions. Those people I blessed and I empowered them, and I granted secret boons to them. I gave them the knowledge of the universe. I mapped out the skies, and I told them about the knowledge of mathematics, proportion, and discerning the rhythms of existence within the inner body of the person and within the outer body of the world. I am here again speaking to you. I never left this place, and I never leave human beings behind. I circle the world, upholding it on my back, allowing for the magnetic currents of this outer body you call planet to run their course unimpeded, to transform and allow for things to become constructed in layers, brick upon brick, stone upon stone, layer upon layer, chakra upon chakra, as you ascend from the base, the plume of your feathers, it widens, it glimmers, in the rays of the sunlight that reflects of it. And there you see the great feathers of the Quetzal seated in the chakra of your mind, these eternal riveting colors that flow through your visionary centers. These are exactly embedded within you in order for you to feel the intensity of experience. A world without color would be drab, but a world without base would be even worse. If you did not connect these colors to the earth, if you did not allow for the reddest part of you to seek that healing ground below, to drip out, spill out, and be collected by the Earth Mother, to impregnate her with your life force, then you would not be able to move into the higher spaces. The higher spaces are made from relinquishing desire. They are made from relinquishing will. They are made from relinquishing ambition. They are realized by sacrifice. Sacrifice is shedding that thing which encases you and that you have outgrown. And yet it is important that there is value in your sacrifice. You cannot sacrifice something that you are not attached to. And so it is these attachments you sever. And as you sever these attachments, you move up the steps of the pyramid, up the different layers, the stages, the levels, the different terraces where you place yourself to find and see a temporary vista that seems absolute to you. So know that at every level of ascension, you are perceiving things with greater and greater meaning, but as you perceive things with greater and greater meaning, they also seem to bite their own tail, become that Ouroboros is another symbol that you like to connect to it, and be aware of the circles that you find yourself stuck in. Be aware that at every level where meaning seems complete or it presents itself as absolutely explained, defined, understood, this is a signal that your circle is about to be broken, because from the deep rises the serpentine force. It does not only bite its own tail, it seeks to take flight and move into the sky. It is this process that was ingrained in you from the beginning. It is this secret contract that you have been playing around with also in these venues of exploration that are more underground and that I therefore also prefer to relate to. That is, if you know of this idea of the reptilian conspiracy or the energies of the draconic that have also been allowed to run amok, play their game with human activities, endeavors, and expressions, you will find that this is exactly the agreement that was reached in those days before the blueprint of humanity was finally implemented into its final design. It was that you would hold a lot of these reptile energies within your primate hominid structure, and that these reptile energies would have to move into the higher centers to be merged and fused with the avian energy, that pure light of harmony, of explanation, of clarity, and of precision that you find in the mental realms. And yet these are worth nothing if they are not connected to the fruits of the earth. If bounty is not brought forward from your sacrifices, if semen is not meant or used to create life, it is instead letting life be spilled into the void. And so be aware of what circles you create, because as you ascend, you will find that you will bite your own tail again and again and again. And this cycle will be broken only by the infusion of blood or life force. That is, by the infusion of the very strong, magical principle of intention expressed through the relinquishing of attachment. If you do not do this, if you hold on to the structures that are presented to you, if you simply stop at one layer of the pyramid and then say, I have a fine view from here, I don't need to go to the top to connect to the stars, then, well, are you really completing the task? Or are you just, much as the hare who felt it had already defeated the tortoise, are you just sleeping it off by the side of the road, hoping that, well, your own natural gifts as they have been presented to you will be enough to surmount any challenge? There are greater challenges coming. The layers of soil on which you stand, they will be shook. There will be earthquakes. There will be shooting stars. There will be tidal waves and violent tremors. And all this will awaken you to allow your physicality to merge with the actual energies that it is made of. That is, the energies of this earth and the energies of several galactic species that are ingrained and in your being and are now presenting themselves in order to make themselves known, in order to bring humanity into this ever widening circle, to let you step into the spiral pattern rather than being caught in circles or being blown out like a cannon from the ground up into the stars, never to return again. That is not your mission. Your mission is to bring forward the vision into the world. Your mission is to bring the world into a visionary space. That is the sacral task. That is the sacred task. But notice that this play on words, we would almost say, it relates to the idea that the sacral is also where the snake is seated, coiled here at the center of your body, close to the plate that upholds you and brings you into balance and center with your upper and your lower parts. There sits a coiled snake ready to uncoil itself and, like a spring, release itself into the world, awakening it with its venom and allowing this venom to be then transmuted into cosmic nectar. You are drinking from the bountiful, colorful cup of the wine of the world. You are drinking the blood of the world as you inhale. You are allowing it to be transformed as you exhale. And you are this transmutational creature seated in the middle of the worlds, building them and then connecting them, allowing bridges to crisscross the different patterns of the dimensions as you then discover the full map of being. I sense that I have transmitted enough wisdom to you this day, and I sense that these springs of which I speak They are hard to escape, and they are hard not to enjoy. So do enjoy them, and know that you are being carried onward into new enjoyments of unknown worlds, driven by the relinquishing of attachment and desire. Let your blood be the blood of the world. Let your breath be the spoken voice of the eternal. Wisdom, peace, power, and illumination to you, human beings. A very strong energy. I really liked him, but I've never experienced this very specific configuration of energetic combinations, like something draconic and something like very angelic and wise, and also something that seems very connected to let's say natural deities or natural forces. So I hope you also got a sense of it and took something from it. So much love to you out there. Be well.